Hello and welcome back. In this video, what we're going to do is set up our database structure so that we're able to use MySQL to store data like our users who are registering and our login session users and all things like that. So in the previous videos, what we had done with MySQL is we had connected to our MySQL prompt through the terminal, and we created our tables and all that through the terminal, which is probably a good idea just to get you to learn MySQL very well. But we're going to do it a little bit easier in this case. We are going to be writing throughout this entire project and the rest of the projects. We're going to be writing SQL. So I think you're going to get SQL. So I'm not too concerned about writing it all from the terminal, from the command line. So we're going to use a graphical user interface or a GUI to manage our database and make things a whole lot easier. So let me switch over to my camera or my screen real quick, and I'm just going to have my screen and not my face. This should be the last video I'm recording with my face all numb after going to the dentist because it's getting kind of late. Well, it's not late, but I have to work tomorrow, so it's getting to a point where this is probably the last one I'm going to shoot today, and I'll come in fresh tomorrow. So let me go ahead and double check that our servers are up and running. So just go ahead and type in your command, whatever that is. Mine is sudo opt lamp examp, /examp start. All right then. So what we can do is open another tab in our web browser and type in localhost /phpmyadmin. This is a tool that's included with examp, and it allows us to manage our databases on our local server. So let me go ahead and show you what we're going to be doing. I have several databases here. If you're new to this, you're not going to have very many. You should have the DB one if you went through the last chapter on MySQL. But we're going to create a whole new one for this project. So we can just click new here. Also, if I click databases here, we can see our databases listed here. So we're going to go ahead and create a new database, and we're going to give it a name of login. I like to keep it simple, kind of something I know it's kind of named like whatever website I'm building. Make sure it's on UTF-8 MB4 General CI. Now what this is the UTF-8 MB4 is basically it is a mechanism for how characters are encoded, okay? And the CI is short for case insensitive. So we're going to go ahead and create that with the name of login. So just go ahead and hit create. And now it takes us to the structure, and it says that we have no tables in our database because we haven't created one. So let's go ahead and create a table with, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to have 7 columns here. So just change this 4 to a 7. And let's make the table named users, okay, lowercase users, and just hit go. And what this is going to do is pull up this table-like structure that we can use to build out our table. Now each one of these is going to be a column. So the first one that we're always going to create is our ID. Okay, so the ID will be an integer, and we won't have a default, and we will set it to an auto increment with a primary key. Okay, this is going to be our primary key for our table. Now all of our tables are going to have that exact same ID. The next thing that we're going to have is a first underscore name. And this we're going to create as a variable character because we're going to store strings in here, but we don't need to store a ton of strings. We're going to go ahead and limit that to 255 on the length for that. That's how much memory it will be able to store for this column. And then we'll go ahead and click on null here to allow null for that. We'll do the same thing with last name. That's also going to be a variable character type with a length of 255, and we'll allow that to be null as well. The next one that we want to do is an email. Email is also a variable character, but we don't need 255 characters because I believe the most an email can be is 155. So we'll just store 155. There's no reason for us to store more than that. And then we'll go ahead and say null on that as well. The next thing that we want to put in here is a password. We want to store a password. Now we're not going to be storing these passwords as a plain text password, because if anyone got access to our database, I mean, we'd be in trouble anyway, but we'd also be giving up all of our passwords for all of our users. So we don't even want to have access to the plain text passwords. Imagine you are an employee for a company or something and you get disgruntled and you want to steal information. You don't want to store passwords as plain text. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a hash on these. And so let's just go ahead and set the length of this to 75. That'll be sufficient for what we're going to be doing. I actually think 60 might work for what we're going to be doing, but let's just set it at 75. We'll go ahead and allow null on that as well. And then we're going to add a column called varicode. This is going to be also a variable character, but we're only going to set this to 50 in length. We'll make that null. Now the varicode is going to be used for, when a person registers, we're going to give them a unique verification code, and we're going to send them an email, and that will be in the link. And when they click on that link, that's how we're going to know who the user is when they click on the link, okay? So we're going to store that there. It's a varicode. And then we're going to create one called verified. Now this is going to be a Boolean, and the way that we're going to store a Boolean in our database is going to be a tiny int, okay? And we're just going to go ahead and set that to a length of 1. We'll allow that to be null, but we're going to set a default. So if you look here, we have a default. We're going to set as defined. So click on that and click as defined, and then put 0. When we first add a row to our users, it's automatically going to fill in that 0 there, which will be nice. All right, so the next thing that we want to be able to do is, let's see, we're going to want to add some indexes. Let me just hit save here. And now you can see all of our columns that are available to us in this table. But we're going to do something. Remember we talked in the last chapter about indexes to make things a little bit more secure. So we want to create indexes on columns where we're going to be searching on. So remember that varicode, we're going to be searching by email and password and varicode. So let's go ahead and let's set one up for the email first. So let's create an index, and we'll just give it a name of email. And the index choice, don't really care about unique, I guess. We could make that unique, but we'll go ahead and make this a regular index, and we're going to choose email for the column on that. And go ahead and hit go. Now we have an index for the primary key on the ID and for the email. So let's add one more. Well, we're going to end up adding 2 more, I think. Let's add one. Oops. I pushed the wrong thing. So I'm going to go back to structure here. We're going to add another index. I pushed this up here. You want to, right here where it says create an index on one column. We're going to call this one varicode. And go ahead and select that as the column, and we're going to set that to a regular index as well and hit go. And we'll do this one more time, and this one is going to be for verified. Actually, I'm not sure why we need one on verified right now. Let's not add that until we need it. So let's just do the ID for the primary key, and then the email and verified. I chose that wrong. Let's edit that. The varicode should be varicode. Sorry, I chose the wrong column there. So that should be varicode and hit go. Now we have these indexes, and we'll be able to search by the varicode when they click on the email, on the verify email link, and we'll be able to find people when they go to log in by their email. All right, and we of course have one on the ID. So that's one table. We're going to need a couple more tables here. Let's see, let's create a table called sessions. And what this will do, the sessions table, so I'm going to click new right here. So we're in our login database, click new. And we'll give this a name of sessions. And we're going to want 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 is fine on this. So go ahead and just leave this here. So we're going to create our ID. It's going to be an integer auto increment. So it'll set it as the primary key. And then we're going to add user underscore ID. That will also be an integer. You can go ahead and set an index on this as well right here. So just choose index, and you can just give it a name of user underscore ID. Hit go. Let's see. The next thing that we're gonna have is actually, you know what? I'm not even sure we need. Yeah, we'll keep it on that. So let's add another one called hash. The hash is going to be a variable character with a length of 50. And we'll add an index on that as well, just a regular index here. We're going to create a single column index, and we'll call that hash. Hit go. All right, and we're going to have one more column here. We're going to call this finger underscore print. This is going to be a variable character, and we'll set that at 255. And we don't need an index on that one. So we're going to go ahead and hit save now. So now this table, we have the ID, the user ID, the hash, and the fingerprint. That's all we're going to need for the sessions. We need one more table for this project. And this table is going to be for when we reset our passwords. It's going to set up a temporary row in this table that's going to last for 10 minutes. So I'm going to click new, and we'll just call this password underscore resets. And then this is going to get an ID. That's an integer. It's going to be an auto increment with a primary key. And then we're going to do a created at. Now the created at is going to store the date and time that this is created. So go ahead and scroll down here until we find a date time. So you want date time as our type. And then we can turn on null for this if we want. The next thing we're going to do is a user underscore ID, which will be an integer. I'm not certain. Let's not worry about putting an index on that yet. But let's add one called verify. Verify is going to be a variable character, and we'll set that at 255, I guess. Not really sure. Let me double check. I guess we'll leave that. Let's see. This verify, I'm trying to think if we need, let's just go ahead and save this. I'm trying to think if we need any indexes on this or not. We won't add indexes now, but as we do the code, it'll become more obvious if we need an index, and we'll add those in then. So these three tables, we've created a new database called login. We have a users table that we're going to store all of our users that register for our site in. We're going to store sessions for when they log in and they store a cookie on their computer. The remember me cookie will put a row in here that we can identify them by their cookie and auto log them in. And then we're going to have a password reset table that's going to create an auto generated verify code, and it's going to send them an email with that code, and they're going to have to type that code in to verify that they are who they say they are. And then we'll let them go ahead and update their password at that point. All right, so I think that's it for the database. We don't really need to store anything else for this, but now we are set up and ready to go with our database. Of course, you could do, let's just for fun, just so we don't forget how to do this, let's go back to our terminal, and I'm going to clear this, and let's just type in /opt lamp bin MySql-u root, and now I'm logged in, so I'm going to say show databases. Oops, I spelled that wrong. Show databases, semicolon. And so now you can see our login database is the one we just created. So I can say use login. And now I'm in my terminal and I'm logged into this. So now if I do show tables, you can see our 3 tables here, and we can actually type in describe users, and now you can see our field list here and whether or not they have primary key, whether or not they have keys on them, and so on and so forth. You can even see that the verified has a default setup for 0. So I'm going to go ahead and hit exit here to get out of my MySQL terminal there. And that's it for this video, guys. I just wanted to shoot a quick video. Make sure you get your databases set up. Make sure it's just like mine. If you have to pause it, rewind it, whatever, just get it set up exactly like mine so we don't have problems later on. All right, I will see you in the next video, guys. Peace out.